Hi, welcome to my channel Ruby Net Crochet Tejido. In this video I'm going to teach you how to crochet this crop top cardigan. It's very easy to do. I hope you guys like it and give it a try. And here is the list of material you're going to need to make it. If you're not already subscribed, please subscribe and click on the bell, that way you get notification each time I upload a video. Remember, I make my videos in Spanish and English. If you receive a Spanish video and you want to see in English, go to the main page of my YouTube channel. Then you'll find the English version in there. This cardigan is a small to a medium size. You can make it large, extra large, longer, shorter, any size you want. To make this crop top cardigan, I'm gonna use this yarn. You're gonna need 2 of these at the Bernat Premium medium 4, 100% acrylic, 198 grams, and the color is magenta. This is the accent yarn that I have. It's exactly the same type of yarn, but I only have this 70 gram left over. I hope it's enough. If it's not enough, I will have to go to Walmart to get some more, because this was the leftover from the cardigan that I did before. And the color of this one is dark gray heather. They're exactly the same type of yarn. I had these 3 buttons that I made with polymer clay. Perfect color for this. And the crochet hook, I have a 6mm, but if I have to adjust the gadget for the stitch, I will use a 5mm as well. You're gonna need tapestry needle and scissor and measurement. This is the chart of the motif that we're gonna do. 2 little cats, and they will be in the front each side. So this will be from the right to the left side. So when you close your cardigan, they'll be both in the front facing the same way. Okay? Because this will be, for example, where the numbers here, that will be one side. The other side, when it's open flat, and you see they will be facing the same. When you close it, they will be perfect. And that's why I need the accent color for this. Each X is a half double crochet, so I hope I have enough. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna weigh the yarn again and wind half in another ball, because we're gonna work with one on this side, and then we'll continue working with this, and then in the other side for the motif we'll work with the other little ball. Okay, so I'm gonna leave a picture in my Instagram, Ruby Net Crochet Tejido, and my Facebook page, Ruby Net Crochet Tejido, with the magenta. And we're going to do a slip knot, and we're going to do a chain of 9, 8 plus 1. You can do it longer if you want wider in the border. Don't have to be even number. You can have 11 plus 1. You can have 12 and work a number 11, or 12 and plus 1, 13. Depend on the width that you want for this. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 plus 1. You're gonna go to the second chain from the hook and do a single crochet, and you're gonna do in total a single crochet. Five, 6, 7, and 8. You're gonna chain 1. You're gonna go to the second chain that you see from the hook. You see this one, and the back strand. You're gonna do your first single crochet of 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, and always in the back strand. 5, 6, 7, and number 8 you're gonna do, you see the little knot that you see here, and that is what you're gonna do, number 8. The first one is a little more tight because it's not a chain 1 up, but the next one will be easier. And 8. That will give you a straight border. you're going to chain 1, you're going to go to the second chain from the hook, you see that one in the back strand, and you're going to do your first single crochet of 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and number 8, and the border here, and it's easier. You're going to chain 1, and again you're going to go to the second chain from the hook, and you're going to continue working until you have the desired circumference for yourself. You're going to measure around your chest, leaving a gap for the button band. I already have mine done. I have here 100 rows, and it look like this. The one that I made with the gray and gold, the other short cardigan, I did 120. It's a little bit loose for me. I'm a medium size. The other one is a medium large, but this one I want to be a little more fitted. I have 100 here. Remember, I'm gonna leave a gap for the button band here. That's where I go, one on top of each other, and probably I will do 104 for mine. Okay, so I will do 4 more. I did 4 more rows, 104, and I measure 31.5 inches, 80 centimeters long. And now we're gonna do a single crochet row. So you're gonna chain 1, and you're gonna do the same amount of rows that you have. You're gonna do a single crochet. For me, it had to be 104 single crochet. And like that, you're gonna work until the end. And I already separated the 2 little balls for. Here I have my 104 single crochet. I forgot to mention that you're gonna need a marker, because when you're gonna work in the first row, you need to know where you're gonna start the second motif in here. So where I have the number here, this is the border stitch, so that is stitch number 1, and the motif will be from 1 to 16, but you stop the first one and 13, the first row, and then you will work magenta until you have to work the next motif at the little cut. So from the other border in, you will count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and number 13 is where you're going to put the marker. That way you know where you're going to change from the magenta to the gray. So you're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and number 13. You're going to place a marker. Or you can place a little bit of a strand of yarn in there just to mark that stitch, because we're going to work the border plus the gray and then magenta, and then when you get here, you know that you have to stop and change color. I'm gonna try to keep this as much as I can to work with the motif. So we're gonna start with the border. For the border, you're gonna chain 1, turn your work around, and that's first single crochet. You're gonna do a single crochet, and you're gonna chain 1, and that's your first border stitch. So that will be here number 1. So you have to do is that one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then number 6 you start the first gray stitch. So that's 1 half double crochet, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now we're going to change to the gray, and I'm gonna do a slip knot. I always like to do a slip knot to secure my work. That way the stitch is not loose. I'm gonna slip that loop through the other loop. I'm gonna pull this one and try to have the knot on the other side of that loop. And if it's too loose, that loop, what you do is you open this up and that will tie that there. So now we have to do with the gray 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches, and at the same time I lose the tail. So that's one, and you see the magenta will be a little bit loose in here, so pull that and it will get smaller. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now you're going to leave the gray, grab the magenta from the front, bring it out, slip that stitch in, pull the gray to tie the magenta in place, and now you're going to do one stitch with the magenta. That's the empty color. And now you have to change to the gray, and you have to do 2 stitches. The gray, you bring it up from the back, make sure that you don't grab the tail. You slip the stitch, you pull this one, and you're going to do 2 stitches. Always pulling the tail a little bit to tie that slip stitch. And now here we're done with the gray. We have to work magenta, but the next stitch in the next row is 1 stitch over, so you have to bring that gray 1 stitch over and then you leave it there. So you're going to change to the magenta again. You're going to pull that gray to tie that in here to secure the stitch, and you're going to do 1 with the magenta, and then you're going to leave the gray here, and you see that will be 1 stitch over for the next row. And now you'll leave that there, and with the magenta you'll work half double crochet. Until the marker. So I realized that I forgot to mention that for the part of the cardigan that I don't gonna do any motif, I'm gonna change to the smaller size hook, because from the experience of the other cardigan that I did with the gold and gray, that I did the part of the motif with the 6mm, and I continue working in the top with the 6mm, but it started to grow too big, so I changed to a 5mm, and that will adjust the size of this and the size in this part of the cardigan, the top. But where you do the motif, you have to use the bigger size, because here you have stitches interweave in the back, you know, the strands, no stitches, the yarn. So that will make the work a little more tight. So with the bigger size you will do the motif, and with the smaller size you will do the magenta part where you don't have anything. I'm going to change to the bigger size hook with the other little ball, create a slip knot. I don't need to leave that much tail. I have to save as much yarn as I can. I think it's I'm gonna slip through here. Exactly the same way, you could pull that one, tie that slip knot, and now you're gonna do 2 with the gray, 1 with the magenta, 5 with the gray, and 5 with the magenta. So yarn over. We're gonna lose the tails at the same time. 2 with the gray. And remember, with crochet, it's not the same as net that the color work is perfect, because remember, the post of the crochet is in one side and the little chain is in the side, okay? So it's not a perfect match for the stitches. So 1 with a magenta, magenta to the front, gray to the back, slip the gray, pull in here, and now you're going to do 5, and I'm going to leave the tail in there. I don't need to bring it to the border. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We're going to change always the magenta to the front in here on the right side. You pull the gray, and now you have to look that you have to have the gray 1 stitch over for the next row. So you're going to trap in the next stitch. You're going to leave it there, and you're going to work the rest of your magenta for a total of 5. 2, 3, 4, and the one in the border, 5, and like that you finish row 1. Now for row 2, you're going to chain 1, turn your work around, do a single crochet in that same space, chain 1, that's the first half double crochet of 4, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4 magenta, 7 gray, 1 magenta, 2 gray, and then magenta until you change to the gray again. So that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now you're going to bring up the gray. This is the wrong side of your piece. And you're going to go here. You see, it'll go nice and straight up because you put it 1 stitch over. So now you have to do 7 with the gray. On top of this magenta, you're going to do the first one. So that's 1. And I try to have, it's a little fiddly, because I'm trying to have the magenta as close at this side as I can. That way you don't see as much through the other side, but you still see it a little bit. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and number 7 is on top of this magenta. 7. Again, you'll change the magenta to the front of the stitch, and the wrong side when you're working in the way back and the even numbers, you have to wrap always the yarn through the front. That way you don't see it in the right side of your piece. So each time you change color, you have to bring the one that you're going to use in the front of the one that you just finished. In this row, the yarn will wrap around each other a little bit, but you have to unwrap as you go. Okay, and that's things that you have to do if you want to do color work with crochet. So you're gonna do one with a magenta and top of the first gray. Now you're gonna change to the gray. You see, right on the front again, always in the front. And you're gonna pull this one, and you're gonna do two of the gray. One. And two. You're going to change to the magenta. And you have to look that in the next row you are one stitch over, so you have to bring the yarn one stitch over to the other side. So you're going to do that in this one. You leave the gray in this side. You see it's a little wrap, so I have to unwrap it. Just a few twists. Leave it in here and the front. Change my crochet hook size. I know this is a little bit fiddly, but and you're going to continue working with the magenta until you have one stitch before the gray here. You see? And here. And then you will change color. You will have one magenta. Change the bigger size hook. I'm going to do the last one like I did in the other side. Now I'm going to change exactly the same. Bring up the gray, slip, and make it too loose. Pull the magenta. And now you're going to do two gray, one magenta, 7 gray, 4 magenta. So the first one, the first gray, you're going to do on top of the last magenta in here. Pull this one, that's 1. 1, and the next one is 2. Change, you see, in the front of the gray, you're going to bring the magenta up. Pull the gray. Do 1 magenta in the next gray. Again, bring the gray up in the front of the magenta, pull the magenta, and then you're going to do 7 gray, 1 and the magenta, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in the next one, and then remember you have to bring the stitch 1 over when you change it here. Magenta in the front, gray in the back. You have to trap the gray 1 stitch over, pull, leave it here in the front because this is the wrong side, and then that's 1, 2, 3, and number 4 in a single crochet. You're going to chain 1, unwrap this if it's wrapped, turn your work around, and then you're going to do a single crochet, chain 1, and then we're going to start and row. We're going to start 3, already chain 1. I'm going to do a single crochet in the first space, chain 1, that's the first stitch of 3, and then you have to do 9 of the gray, 1 of the magenta, 2 of the gray, and then magenta until it's time to change to the gray. So that's 1, 2, and 3. Leave the magenta in the front, bring the gray from the back up, pull the magenta, and the first of 9 is in top of the magenta. So that's 1, and try to hide the magenta in the back as best as you can. You still see it in the right side, but you have to try. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 'Now you'll change the magenta in the front, gray on the back, and you're going to do 1 of the magenta. And then you change to the gray in the back, magenta in the front, and you're going to do 2 of the gray. 1 in the first one, and 1 in the next one. You're going to change. Remember to look if you have to trap the gray 1 stitch over, and you have to do that now because in the next row you have the stitch over. So trap in the next one. I'm going to change my hook size, and I'm going to work until 1 stitch before the gray. It looks like this. You see, like I said, don't look perfect. Here they look together, but that's the way crochet is. Change to the bigger size hook. Do the last one with this color, like I did on the other side. Now I'm going to change color, leave the magenta in the front, bring the gray up. On the magenta. And you're going to do 2 with the gray. 1 on top of the magenta. And 1 on top of the next gray. And you're going to bring the magenta up, leave the gray in the back. Do a magenta on top of the gray. Change color again. And now you're going to do 9 with the gray. The first one on top of the magenta. 1, 2, and I'm going to show you what I meant by the stitches don't look exactly how you want them to look as the chart. For example, in the tail is that where you're going to see it. And here, you see, you're supposed to have a separation between the tail and the body, and in here they seem together, but in the it's supposed to be like that, you see, because we're working on the angle, that's why it tends to get together. And in the other side, you see, in this stitch is fine, but in here, for number 4, 3 magenta, 9 at the gray, 2 magenta, 2 gray, and then magenta until it's time to start with 2 gray. This time the separation here is 2 stitches. This is a little fiddly until row 14 that you finish working with the color work. The rest is just 1 color, half double crochet. So be patient. That's 1, 2, and 3, bring the gray up, with the magenta here. Now you're going to do a gray on top of each gray because it's the same 9 stitches. And again, I try to bring the magenta as close as this front as I can. We have to try to do our best. Seven, 8, and 9. Again, the magenta in the front, gray in the back. Now you're going to do 2 magenta, 1 on top of this magenta, and 1 on top of the gray. Again, gray in the front, magenta in the back. You pull, and you're going to do 2 gray. One and 2. Bring the magenta, leave the gray in the front. You don't need to trap 1 stitch over because it's going to be the same in the next row here. I'm going to do my first stitch with a bigger hook. Pull and change, and I'm going to work with a smaller size hook until it's time to change to the gray again and the other side. And it start to look like this, the tail. I'm going to change to the gray. And this magenta, you're going to do 1 gray. Top of the gray, a gray. And then 2 magenta. Remember, on the wrong side, you always bring the stitch in front, the yarn in front of the one you just finished. So 1 on top of this gray, and 1 on top of the magenta. You see, I bring this one up in front of the magenta. And now I have to do 9 gray. Five, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Now you're bringing the gray to the front here. Leave it there because the next row is exactly the same repetition as this one. So 4 and 5 are exactly the same. So 3 and the magenta. You want to chain 1, turn your work around, single crochet, chain 1, and continue with the same repetition of this row. I have my first one, 2, and 3, now I have to do 9 gray, 7, 8, 9, 2 magenta, 2 gray, now you're going to change color and hook and work with the magenta until it's time to change again for the next motif. And like that is 5 is exactly the same as 4. And you see, when you're working in the right side you hardly see the magenta, but when you work in the wrong side you see the color a little bit more coming through. Now in 6 we're going to decrease the amount of gray. So you're going to do 4 magenta, 7 gray, 3 magenta, 2 gray. And then you continue until you have to work again with the gray. So you always start the same. That's 1, 2, and 3. Oh, it's 4. Sorry. And there's so many 3 that I forgot this one is 4. 4 of the magenta. Change to the gray. And now you're going to do 7. And if you have your chart, you can guide yourself by the chart. You don't even have to follow this part. As you see, it's very easy, just counting the stitches and following the chart. Three, 5, 6, and 7. Change to the magenta and the 3. 1, 2, and 3. Change to the gray and the 2. change to the magenta, leave the gray here, and I always like to do the first one with the big hook, and then I change to the smaller one, and then I will work until it's time to change to the gray again. And with that, start to look our little cat. You see, we start to decrease the size of the body to do the little neck and the head. This one with a bigger hook. I'm gonna change to the gray. I have to do 2 with the gray. And just to finish the color change. Now the magenta, 3 with the magenta. One. 2. And 3. Sometimes it looks like I'm doing a double crochet, but it's just the way I'm doing the half double crochet. That sometimes I pass it through 2 and then I slip to the next one. But it's half double crochet. You see, sometimes I do this and then pass it through here. But it's half double crochet all the way. So like that, you're going to continue 7 with the gray, and you're going to finish with 4 with the magenta. For number 7, 5 at the magenta, 5 at the gray, 3 magenta, 2 gray. Move that out of the way because now this is growing. It's a little bit more. I already start like always. And this is number 2. Three. 4 and 5. Bring the gray, pull the magenta. 5 with the gray. 1, 2, 3. 4, 5, change color, now 3 with magenta, 1, 2, and 3. And 2 with the gray, and this is the last for the tail. One and 2. Change color, leave the gray, do the first one on top of the gray with the magenta. Change my hook, and I'm going to continue working with the magenta until the first gray. and then the other two will be here. Okay. Now in row 8, you're gonna do 6 magenta, 3 of the gray, and then you will work with the magenta until you pass the first gray from the row before, and then you'll do 3 gray and then 6 magenta. That's for the little neck of the cats or the color. So that's 1, 2, 3, 6. You're going to bring the gray up, and you're going to do 3, 1, 2, and 3. And this time you have to trap the gray 1 over, because in the next one you're going to do 5 for the gray for the head. So you're going to change to the magenta and trap the gray 1 over. Let me unravel this. Leave it here. Change to my other size hook, and I will work until I pass the first gray. So in here, I wanted to show you. Since the tail is in the other one in one side and the other on the other side, look how this one don't look even. But then this one on the other side, it look perfect. And this one look like a they got into the electricity like the cartoons, and the hairs went oh. The before and after touching the electricity. Since we finished with the tail in this side, the gray is all the way here. You have to bring it all the way to the neck or collar. So what I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna lift it, and then I'm gonna do the next, you see, trapping that gray 1 stitch up, and then I will carry that yarn until it's time to use it. Change my hook. Now I'll change to the gray to the 3 gray. One, two, and 3. Change color. You have to trap the gray 1 stitch over for the next one. You're going to leave it there, and you're going to continue with the magenta until the end of this row. We'll do those 6, and now we're going to work on the little head. For 9, we're going to work 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 magenta, 5 of the gray, and then you'll work all your magentas until it's time to work 5 gray, and that will be 1 stitch or before the gray, and here leaving 1 of the purple or the magenta because you're gonna work 5 in the top. So I'm gonna do a single crochet, chain 1 and 5. That's 2, 3, 4 and 5. Change color. And one of the little cats look much better than the other one. I don't know why. It's the way the crochet go. That's a shame. Two, 3, 4 and 5. You're going to change color. You're going to trap the gray 1 over because in the next one we're going to do 7 with the gray. So you have to trap it 1 over. Now I'm going to change my hook and work with the magenta. Leave the gray there until I get to the other side where I have to do my 5 with the gray. I change to the other side's hook. I'm going to do the last of the magenta. Change to the gray. One, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Change color and trap the gray 1 over because in the next one we want to work 7 gray. So it's good to have 1 stitch over. Leave the gray, work on the magenta. You're going to chain 1, do a single crochet, chain 1, and then we're going to work in number 10. So for 10 you have to do 4 magenta, 7 gray, and then you will work your magentas until it's time to do your 7 gray, and that will be, you will finish in this one leaving 1 magenta because that's the first one of the 7. So I've already done my first stitch. Always you start the same. You see it's more even in the border. That's 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're going to change color. We have to do 7 with the gray. I don't done a lot of color work, crochet color work, because it is easy once you get going, you know, but it's that it's not like net that the work will look more even. If I'm done this in a net stitch, it will look perfect. And maybe I will do that for the people that like to knit. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 7. Change color, and I'm gonna leave the gray here because the next row, row 11, is exactly the same repetition of 10, and you don't need to leave the stitch 1 over, just in the same spot. I like to do the first one with my big hook, and then I will change to the smaller. I will continue working with the smaller until it's time to work with the gray and the other side. Now I'm going to change to the gray. We're going to work 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. I'm going to change color. Leave the gray just right there. You don't need to bring one more up because the next one is exactly the same repetition as this one. And then you're going to continue with the magenta and do 4 stitch. You're going to chain 1, turn your work around, work your half double crochet, chain 1, and then start row 11. Row 11 is exactly the same repetition of 10. 12 is the same repetition of 9. You're going to start with 5 magenta, 5 gray, and then you'll work with your magenta until it's time to do 5 gray and 5 magenta. So I already have here 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Switch to the gray. Make 5. 1. 2. And 5. Bring the gray to the front here because remember this is the wrong side. Switch color. I'll do the first one with the big hook, change to the smaller hook until it's time to work with the big hook again and the other side. So this is the last row of the head, and we only have to do the 2 for the ears, and we're done on cats. Number 13 is 5 magenta, 2 gray, 1 magenta, 2 gray. You'll work your magenta until you get to the first gray from the row before. That will go gray, that one and the next one, 1 magenta, 2 gray, and the rest magenta. We're almost done this row, and the next one we're done the cats. So that's 1, 2, 5, change color, 1, 2, change color, change color again, work the next 2, change color, leave the gray in here. I will do my first stitch with the magenta and the big hook, change to the smaller size hook, and continue working until it's time to work with the gray on the other side. And then we have to do the tip of the ear, and we're done with little cats. Number 14 is 5 with the magenta, 1 gray, 3 magenta, 1 gray, and then you will work with the magenta until it's time to do the first gray and top of the last gray from the row before, and then you do some repetition and you're done with a combination of color with your cats. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, change color, you're gonna do 1, change color, work 3, one, 2, and 3, change color, the 1, change color. You can bring this one to the front, and I have enough here. I'm gonna wait this when I finish. You see they hardly use any. I have enough here to work the border for the sleeve with this color, that way give a nice color complement. I don't have my scissors here. I have another project. I'm gonna grab another one. Yeah, I'm gonna cut this, leaving a tail to secure, and then with this one, leave it in the wrong side. Work my first one with a bigger hook, change to the smaller hook, and then work until it's time to do the other one. So now I'm gonna work until I have the length until under the arm. I want to do this one exactly like the other one, the same length, because I really like the style of the crop top cardigan. They're in style now, so they look really nice. So I think I have to do 2 more rows. I don't remember exactly if it was 16 rows, but I think it is. So I'll do 2 more, I will measure it, and then I will let you know if I do more, because after that we're gonna divide the front and the 2 fronts and the back and then we work in the fronts and then the back. And I'm going to continue working with a 5mm the rest of the cardigan. The reason that I change from the bigger size to a smaller size is because when you interweave two color, they tend to be a little bit tighter because you're pulling strings, and it will be exactly the same pretty much with this one. If you have done the rest of the cardigan with this one, this will be like this, like a V shape. It will grow a lot because it's the more loose the stitch compared to this. So I'll continue working. I will do 2 more rows with the smaller hook, exactly the same, half double crochet on top of each, half double crochet, and you start and finish exactly the same. I worked the 16 rows from this first one that I did to start the motifs until this one, and this measure 23 centimeters 9 inches, exactly as the other one that I did. If you want it longer, you can continue. If you want it shorter, you can do less, you know, like one less, because and then the cut will be, or you can do less and then divide sooner here the armpits. So I'm doing this one like this one that I did before. You don't see in the video for this one. I'm gonna leave the link. You're gonna see an eye. You click on the eye, it will bring you to the video of this one. For this one, I even made the polymer clay buttons to match the color of the cardigan, and I absolutely love it. It's a cropped cardigan, cropped up cardigan, short, and in style now, short sweaters, short blouses, and they look really cute and amazing. So for this one, I did 16 rows, and after 16 and 17, I divided for the sleeve, and I work 7 row, and number 8 I started to decrease in the front to do this angle for the color. That's what I'm gonna do to this one that I'm making as well. And what I'm gonna do now is, and you see this one is bigger, but I worked with the crochet 6mm crochet hook and here, and then the rest I did it with a 5mm. Because when I was working this with a 6, this was really creating a very wide top. For this one that I made, I did 120 rows of the border, and for this one 104. So this one is a little bit smaller. And for this one, I'm going to divide the pieces 25 for one front, 25 for the other one, 50 for the back, and the other 4, you're going to leave 2 without working under this arm and 2 under the other one. That will go for the sleeve. And then here, you're going to start again like you did so far, but you're only going to work 25 stitches. If you're doing the same size, you have to divide. If you're doing more, you divide it the 2 front and the back with the same amount of stitches. You add these 2 and the one in the back, plus you have to leave a space for under the arm. Don't matter if you have even or odd numbers, okay? But you have to have even number in the front, the same amount for one side, the same amount for the other one, even if in the back you have 1 stitch less. And then you leave 2 in the side, and then you're going to work the stitches. I'm going to work 25 stitches. I'm going to chain 1, do the single crochet, chain 1, and work for 7 rows. And then when I'm working at number 8 in the way back, because number 8 is from the wrong side out, I will measure here, leave 2 stitches without working, that we're going to decrease those 2 stitches, okay? So work 7 rows, and then number 8, at the end of number 8, I will measure here. So you're going to continue working. I'm at the end of row 8, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. At the end, I have the 2 stitches left. I'm gonna do my half double crochet in the next one, and leave the last one without working. That's your first decrease. You're gonna chain 1. You're gonna turn your work around. You're gonna do a single crochet on top of that stitch. Chain 1, and you're gonna work those 24 half double crochet, counting this one as the first one. You go to the end, turn your work around, and the next row, that is number 10, You will do the decrease again exactly the same. You're going to leave the last one when it start working, and you will have 23 stitches, and like that you're going to continue in all the even numbers until you have 16 rows. You see, you're creating an angle here. So in row 10, 12, 14, and 16, you will do exactly the same decrease that you did in number 8. And then number 17, you'll work the stitches, cut the yarn, and leave it there long enough to sew that shoulder. And then you will go to the back, and you have to work from the right side to the left, because you want to work all your stitches that they will look exactly the same. Because if you work from the other side back, don't gonna look even. It'll look different, the stitch. So when you get to that part, when you're done your 17 row for the front, well, for my size of my arm is for 17 rows in total. And when it's time to work in the back, let me show you here what you're gonna do. You're gonna do a slip knot. You're gonna skip 2 single crochet, half double crochet, go to the third one, and you're gonna pass that loop, chain 1, do a single crochet, chain 1, work, counting that one, 50 stitches. You're gonna turn your work around, and you're gonna work those 50 stitches for 16 rows. When it's time to work in 17, I will meet you here, because we're gonna do short shoulder stitches, you know, like just the same amount of stitches that you have left in the front. You're gonna do for one shoulder and then for the other one, and then after that I will show you how to work the other side, and then it's time to sew the shoulders and do the sleeves and then the front. We are almost done. But remember, in all the even numbers is where you do the decrease. You leave the last stitches, the last stitch. I finished 16. I'm gonna work 17, and I'm only gonna work 20 stitches, exactly the same amount of stitches that I have here for this front. I chain 1, do a single crochet, chain 1, and do half double crochet until I have 20 half double crochet. I cut the yarn, I do a slip knot, and I will count from outside in 20 stitches, and the number 20 I will pass the slip knot, chain 1, do a single crochet, chain 1, and work those 20 half double crochet, counting the single crochet with the chain 1 at the top as the first one. Cut the yarn, and then you will come to the other side of the front. You will skip 2 of these stitches, and you do the same as you did before. You will do the slip knot, chain 1, do a single crochet, chain 1, and work those 25 stitches for 7 rows. When you start row number 8, I will meet you here, that we're gonna start doing in the other side the same that we did and here for the front. But this time we will do it in the beginning of the row, no at the end like we did before. So finish here. Remember, 20 stitches, 20 stitches for the other shoulder, 25 stitches for 7 I'm going to work on row 8, and the other side at the end of row 8 is where you did the decrease. This time is at the beginning of row 8, because we are on the other side. So you're going to chain 1 for row 8. You're going to skip the first space where you have that stitch. You're going to go to the next one. You're going to do your single crochet, and you skip the first one. You're going to chain 1, and you're going to continue with your half double crochet all the way until the end. And this is row 8. You go back with 9, and you will have 24 half double crochet, and number 10 you will do the decrease exactly the same, and 12, 14, 16, and then you work until row 17. And when I'm gonna work in 10, I will show you one more time how to do the decrease, and then from there you can continue your work until you finish those 17 rows. And this is what I have left of the first ball. I finished number 9 with 24 half double crochet. I'm gonna chain 1, turn my work around. are you gonna skip that first space where you do the single crochet chain 1 to have your work straight. You skip that one, you go to the next space and do your single crochet, and that decrease 1 stitch, chain 1, and work your half double crochet until the end. This time you'll have 23. You come back with 11, and then in 12 you do the decrease, in 14 and in 16 you finish 17. Cut the yarn, leave a tail long enough to sew the top of your shoulder, and then we'll sew the shoulders, work on the sleeve, do the button band, and we're now I'm gonna do the change from one ball of yarn to the other one, and I wanted to show you how I do the changes. I like to do them in the right side of the piece, that way the tails are in the inside. I cut this little piece that I have left because otherwise I'll be working in the wrong side and then the tails will be in the right side. And I'm going to do it such a way that you will see that that will be very secure and your piece will never fall apart through that seam. So if you look at this, it looks exactly as it's supposed to. Don't look like you have a seam or anything, and that is so secure there. Once you lose the tail, you will never know that you change your ball of yarn in here. So it's perfect. Once you finish sewing the shoulder, it will look like this. Now I'm going to work in one of the sleeves. I'm going to write down everything I will do in one, and then when I work in the second one, I will meet you here to let you know what you have to do for yours. Here I finished my first sleeve, and it's done exactly the same as the sleeve of the other crop top cardigan. The only thing that instead of 49, I have 47 in this one, but I work the 38 rows until the border, and I did the same way the decrease, and this one measure 39 centimeters, 15.5 inches, and look like this. So that's what we're gonna do in the other side. We're gonna start here under the arm and work our sleeve. I try it on without the sleeve and look really nice as a little vest or a little bolero. It look really nice. What you can do is give a row of single crochet all the way around with the gray and then work with the buttonhole, and it will look really nice as well if you don't want to do long sleeve. You're gonna start in this space. You're gonna do a slip knot, to create a loop and to secure your work. When you start like this, your work will never unravel through that stitch, because you are trapping the stitch in that loop. So you're gonna chain 1. At the same time, I'm gonna lose the tail, and that's the space. I'm gonna do a single crochet, and I'm gonna chain 1, and that's the first half double crochet of 47 for mine. So you're gonna work half double crochet all the way around, and you're gonna space them even around, not too far apart, not too close to each other, just even. That way it look you know, even apart each stitch. You're gonna keep count of them. You're gonna write the amount of half double crochet that you do in the first leaf in a piece of paper. That way when you do the second one, you'll have the same amount of stitch. For mine is 47. And like that, you're going to continue all the way around. So you don't have to have odd number, you can have even number. The important thing is that the same amount that you do in the first sleeve, you'll have in the second sleeve. I have my 47 stitches. I'm going to finish with a slip stitch on the chain space. I'm going to chain 1. I'm going to do a single crochet in the same chain space. And I'm going to chain 1. And now I'm going to do a half double crochet on top of each half double crochet for a total of 47 half double crochet, and this is round 2. In round 3 we're going to do a decrease, in round 5, in round 7, and in round 9 I'm going to do the decrease of only 1 stitch. That way I have 40 stitches. So you don't have to have the same amount of decrease as mine. Mine is because that's the size I did the first sleeve. For example, if you have more stitches, you can do more decrease. If you have less stitches, you can do less decrease. So that depends on the size of your arm circumference. That's the way you're supposed to guide yourself. Okay? So you're going to continue working this round, and in the next one, we're going to do, here I have my 47 half double crochet. I'm going to do slip stitch on top of the chain, chain 1, single crochet in the same space, chain 1, and we're going to do the first decrease. Yarn over, and you're going to knit together these two, or crochet together. You do a half double crochet that you don't finish, yarn over, you go to the next one, you have 5 strands, you pass through the 5 strands, and you did those two together, and you're going to continue yarn over, and you're going to do half double crochet all the way around until you get to the last 2 that you're going to do them together. And you have to make sure in the round before you have 47, and then in this one you will have 45. So these last 2, you're going to do the last decrease, exactly the same. 2 half double crochet that you don't going to finish, you will close those 5 loops, a slip stitch on the chain, and you finish that round. Now you will start with the chain 1, single crochet, chain 1, and you will do a half double crochet on top of each double crochet for a total of 45, and that will be in round 4. And 5 you will do again 2 decrease, and you will have 43. In round 6 you will work those 43. In 7 you will do a decrease, and or 2 decrease, you will have 41. You will work those 41 in number 8, and in number 9 you will do 1 decrease until you have 40. So you will skip the last half double crochet because it's very close to the first one, and you will have your 40 stitches. But you start with 46 stitches, and number 7 you will have already your 40 stitches, and you will continue with those 40 stitches until round 27. I'm gonna work this round number 4, work those 45 stitches, and then number 5 I will show you one more time how to do the decrease, and then you will continue until 27 doing the decrease as you're supposed to. But remember, you have to try this on as you work, because maybe you need to do more decrease or less decrease. I finished that round. I'm gonna work in round 5, single crochet, chain 1, yarn over, half double crochet, then you're gonna finish the next one, you do them together, and that's the first decrease of 2, and you're gonna continue with half double crochet until the end where you do the last 2 together, and then in number 6 you'll work those 43, and 7 and you'll decrease exactly the same. You'll have 41, and if you start with 46 you will have 40, and then you will work those 40 until round 27. I will work off camera and I will meet you here when I'm done those. I have 27 round. Now we're gonna do in 28 a round of decrease, and I'm gonna do a single crochet and now 2 together. Pass it through one, I don't close that one, pass it through the next one, I have 3 loops, close the 3 loops, and that's 2 together. Go to the next one, a single crochet, and the next 2 together, 1 single crochet, and the next 2 single crochet together, and like that you will continue. And at the end of this round I will have 28 single crochet. In round 29 I will change to the gray color. I finished the round. Now we're going to change to the gray. I'm going to do a slip knot, and I'm going to come to the first single crochet past that loop, and if you notice, I always start the change of color or the change of yarn like this with a slip knot. That way it's nice and secure, and that piece will never come undone through that change of color. You see, it's trapped in here. So in the same space I will do a single crochet. At the same time I will lose the tails. So in round 29, that is this one, I will do 28 single crochet, and number 30 I will do again 28 single crochet, and in 31 I will do one more round of decrease. That's the last round of decrease for mine. If you like, you can leave those 28 and continue with those 28 stitches until round 38, but for mine, that this is always been thin, this part in here, I like a little bit tighter, so I will do one more round of decrease. So in 31 I will meet you here to show you how I did the decrease in that round, if you're doing a decrease round. Work in 29 and 30 with your 28 single crochet, and I will meet you here. I'm gonna work in round 31, and this is my last round of decrease. I'm gonna chain 1, do a single crochet in the first single crochet, and the next 2 I'm gonna do them together, 2 together. Now 4 single crochet separate, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and the next 2 together, and like that gonna be this last round of decrease. 4 single crochet, 2 together, 4 single crochet, 2 together, and at the end I will have 23 single crochet. I'm gonna finish with a slip stitch on the first single crochet, and I'm gonna continue working those 23 single crochet until round 38. That will give you a little cuff like this one. After you finish, you chain 1, cut the yarn, lose the tail, work in the other sleeve exactly the same, and after that we will work in the front border for the buttons. Now for the border, I'm gonna do a slip knot with the main color. You can choose between the main color or the accent color. I still have plenty of these, but I like to do it with this one. So I'm gonna come to the border. I'm gonna put a slip stitch, chain 1, single crochet in that space, and chain 1. That's the half double crochet. Now I'm gonna half double crochet all the way around. So you have to make sure that you put the half double crochet in an even distance from one and each other. You don't want them too close because it will create a wave, and you don't want them too far apart that they look weird or and make this part more tight. So you have to eyeball it as you work. Like this. You see, it's nice and straight so far. Those few stitches is the same width as the border. And then you'll continue working like this all the way around. And this will be the first row of 5. I finished that row, and depend of the width that you want for your border is the amount of rows that you're gonna do. For mine gonna be 5, like the other one. I want to be the same width as this one, like this. So for me it will be 5. This and 2 we're gonna work half double crochet all the way until the end, and 3 we're gonna do the opening for the buttons, and then we work 4 and 5. That way the buttonholes are in the center. So you're gonna come here, you're gonna chain 1, you're gonna turn your work around, and you're gonna work a single crochet, and I'm gonna grab these 2 strands in the front, leaving the third one in the back. That way I will have a nice line in the other side, and I will show you what it look like in the other one. You see, you'll have these lines in here like a texture in your border, and instead of flat like this, they'll look much better like this. So that's what I'm gonna do for mine, and you create that by working. You see, if you look, you have 1, 2, and 1 in the back. So you leave that one in the back without working, just grabbing these 2 like this, and you're creating that line. If you like this without any buttons, you know, you like to leave it open, look how nice it look after the first 2 rows. They look fantastic, but for mine I like them with buttons. So, and now in this one, in row 3, I'm gonna do the buttonholes. These are the size buttons that I'm gonna use. I don't know if I'm gonna use this one yet. I have polymer clay there. I may do some a little more magenta and gray than multicolor like this one. This one have a little bit of purple there that is almost like a magenta, but it's not. In person they're a little bit more darker than the cardigan. I made these ones. They're absolutely gorgeous, and around that's the distance and the size buttons that I'm gonna do for this one. So I don't know if I'm gonna use these ones or not yet. So if I make some, I made them exactly the same size, so I will decide that later. So now we're gonna start making the buttonhole for this size. I'm gonna measure these buttons, that way you know the size. They are exactly 4 centimeters, 1.5 inches. So I have a cookie cutter, and that's how I cut the buttons. That way they are all the same size. So this one is 4 centimeters, 1.5 inch. here I have a chain already. I'm going to turn my work around. I'm going to do a single crochet in the first space, always the same. Chain 1, do a half double crochet in the next one, and now I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3, yarn over. I'm going to skip 1, 2, 3, and number 4 I'm going to do the half double crochet, and now I'm going to continue doing half double crochet around 11 or 12, and then I will do again a buttonhole. So depending on the size of your buttons is the amount of chain that you're going to do. For mine it's perfect because I can pass it through, no problem. Maybe for you, you have a smaller buttons and you do a chain of 2 and then skip 2 spaces, and the third one you do the half double crochet. Or if they are even smaller, you chain 1, skip 1, and the next one do your half double crochet. So you have to measure the pen at the size of the buttons. I have 11 half double crochet. I'm going to do the next one. 1, 2, 3 chain, yarn over, 1, 2, 3, and number 4 half double crochet. And now you're going to do half double crochet for 11 more, and then you do the next buttonhole, and then you'll continue with the half double crochet all the way around to the end, and then come back all the way again with half double crochet, and then you will work half double crochet for number 4 again. Chain 1, turn your work around, single crochet through these 2 strands to leave the other strand on the other side, chain 1, and half double crochet on each space, always through these 2. When I get to the space for the buttonholes, I will meet you here. I'm gonna work in the buttonholes, and if you look at the buttonholes, you'll have 1, 2, 3, 4 chain space, and I did 3. But what happened is when you do your half double crochet, so you're doing it this way, and you do this one, the top of that half double crochet is that like a chain space in the top, and then you have 1, 2, and 3. That's why you have 4 in here. So you have to do those 4 half double crochet because that number 4 is the first one of the 11 in the other side. So in this one you will do 1, 2, and 3. Those are the chain space, and then when you do the first one here of the 11, so that one is here 1. You see that one's for here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. So I wanted to mention that that way you make sure that you don't decrease any stitch when you see, and it will be nice and even. You see, it's no warping or anything. It's nice. I'm working here in number 5. This is the last one, so you're gonna start exactly the same as you did the other rows, and you're gonna work all the way around, and you're gonna finish, cut your yarn, lose the tail, and the only thing that we have left to do is sew the buttons. I was looking in the buttons that I already made, and I found these square ones that I made, and it's perfect. I love the color with these because they have different shades on it. They are not perfect, but they are very beautiful. I love them for this piece. So I'm gonna sew the buttons, and I will show you the end result. And to sew the buttons, you even the border of your cardigan, and wherever you see the buttonhole underneath, you place the button, and then you sew them right in the center. So I'm gonna find a smaller size needle because these holes are a little smaller than this one. So I will sew the buttons, and I'll show you the end result. this is leftover yarn. I have this one for the second ball, and this one for that accent yarn that I have. You use less of this because you only use a little bit. This one you use the most because the entire cardigan is done almost with this. So I have enough here to do a hat, either crochet or knit a hat. So I have some left over. So now I will show you the end result. Well, this is the end result, and I absolutely love this crop top cardigan. This one is from a small to a medium size. If you want to make this bigger, I have the tutorial of the other cardigan. You can guide yourself by the amount of stitches of that one. That will be closer to a larger size. Well, I hope you guys like it and give a thumbs up. And subscribe to my channel if you're not already a subscriber. If you make this design or any of my design and you want to send me some picture, you can do it through my Facebook page, Ruby Net Crochet Tejido, or my Instagram, Ruby Net Crochet Tejido. Please share my video with friends and family. That way you help me grow here on YouTube. I wish you have a beautiful day. Bye.